Whenever you're ready, you tell me.
I'm always ready.
You sure?
100%.
Well, I don't know if I believe you. But we're going to do it anyway. What is the first thing that you think of when you think of George Washington?
The easy answer is the dollar bill, but it's really dentures. It's teeth.
Well, no, you only know that because I gave you the notes.
I did. No, that's one of the first things that I remember learning.
Well, that's
and
pretty...
they were made of human bone.
Well, back when we were young, they taught us in school that he had wooden teeth.
Yeah.
So, but I was thinking more along the lines of like when I say, what's the first thing you think about when you think of George Washington? You would think, the dollar bill's probably fine, but America.
America.
I mean, you think about America.
Yeah.
And
crossing the Delaware River.
Crossing the Delaware River.
Yeah.
George Washington did many a thing.
Did he show up in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure?
I don't think it was only Abraham Lincoln in that.
Okay, fair.
But that would have been awesome if he was. So we're talking about George Washington today. We've talked about doing this podcast series, and naturally, we're going to start with
G Dub,
the OG, G Dub. So I was reading through some of these notes, and I found a lot of it very interesting. So for the listeners, what we're going to do is we're doing the presidents. We're going to do all 47 of them, and somebody will say, there's not really 47. I know.
There's always that one.
I know.
Save your comments.
Save your comments. We're going to go through them. But I wanted to do things that were known about the presidents, things that were not, lesser known things about the president, and then kind of like scandalous things.
Oh, fun.
And then messed up things.
That'll get really interesting later down the road into the 30s and 40s.
Yeah, I know. But I was driving home from work earlier and I was thinking to myself, I want to set the scene for you because I've been thinking about this a lot. And I had a realization, not today, I had this realization a few weeks ago that I'm an idiot. I've had many realizations that I'm an idiot, but I'm specifically an idiot because back then, in the 1700s or 1800s or 1900, any of the time, in my mind, everything looked like the pictures that you see.
Sure.
So it looks like not like the actual how bad the pictures are because of the technology.
Sure.
And so I was driving home from work today and I was thinking to myself, I was like, things look like they look now. George Washington
from your eyes perspective.
From your eyes perspective. Yeah. So George Washington is just as real as me and you sitting here talking with each other.
100%. Isn't that not the coolest part that actually we know all about this just from letters and stuff that have been found?
Yeah.
Of people, journals or letters that were sent back from, people in the war.
And you can kind of rebuild history from all of that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because we always try to go back further and further and further. When you think about it, it's like, this is actually pretty recent, all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And so, I read through this. I feel like I had a good understanding of, George Washington and all that. And there's a lot of stuff in here that we all know, but there's also a lot of stuff in here that I had no idea.
I think we'll both be pleasantly surprised how much we don't really know.
Yeah.
Because they don't put a lot of this cool stuff in history books.
Well, I'm also going to put my ignorance on display for everyone to see because even I consider myself a history buff, but like I'm really bad. And if anybody's listened to like all 60 something of these episodes, you'll see like my timelines of things is really bad. The other day was like 5 years ago or like, hey, Nikki, you remember when we did this thing 20 years ago that I said was the other day? So that's how, because I'm looking, like right now, I'm looking at the computer screen and it says the first president of the United States from 1789 to 1797. And then in my mind, I'm thinking, well, the Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776.
Right.
So what happened in all of that time? Well, I mean, I guess I know all of the things that were happening, but I felt dumb because, like, in my dumb mind, I'm like, okay, well, we became a nation, and then immediately, or we declared our independence, and then, like, George Washington was immediately president.
Yeah.
And so
Had to fight the redcoats. You know what's interesting here, not to get sidetracked, but I don't know if you just saw the story about in downtown Lebanon at the roundabout, going through town, there's an old cabin that they're talking about maybe moving or demolishing. But I saw on the news last night, it was built in 1801, which is what, 4 years after, old G-Dub was prez.
yeah,
So that we've got that kind of history sitting in our backyard.
I know. And when we get to Andrew Jackson, I'm excited about that one for us because we're here local in Nashville, and Nikki and I have gone to the Hermitage twice in the past few months, and it's just like, it's crazy to see all of the history and all the things that are just right there in front of us.
Right.
And how do we preserve that stuff? It's even like when you look and you see that they're finding like Bible scrolls and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
It's like, how's that stuff like make it through?
Right.
All of the things. I mean, think about, all of the stuff that happens, like if there's a tornado or a fire or any of these things, floods.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of these things that have happened over the years, and here we are still with everything.
Well, one of the when we get to Andrew, Mr. Jackson, if you're nasty, we should do a little go out to the Hermitage,
Well, yeah,
or go down to Old Town, which is off of Old Natchez down by me, and you can actually see a bridge, a stone bridge that that he used to get across the Harpeth River.
yeah, that's awesome. We need to do it.
And it's preserved.
It'll be the Fairview Social on the road.
I love that.
All right, so the things
do
that the people know about George Washington is obviously he was the first president of the United States, and he was the commander of the Continental Army,
Yeah.
and he won the Revolutionary War, and he refused to become king and resigning power. And so I want to stop on that one for a second.
Yeah.
Because if you think about this, he was an honored, commander and all that kind of stuff. And the people loved him. He got elected twice,
Yeah.
like unanimously. Wasn't like politics is now.
Well, what did he get? Did you say he got elected? Wait, let me go back. Did he cross the Delaware or the Potomac?
I don't know.
We need to do it. I'll follow up with that.
Follow up with that. But
Okay.
everybody wanted to make him king. And he was
Okay.
like, nah, because then we're just getting right back into, what we're trying to get away from.
That's right.
And so I thought it was pretty cool that, he could have all of this power, but he declined it.
Yeah.
And kind of set the stage of how the country's running, which the next one here on the list is setting the 2-term precedent. Because, he chose not to run again in 1796, stepping down in 1797, and it wasn't required by law.
It's interesting.
And it says that his example shaped American political culture for generations. Wow. And then if you move on down, here's a crossing the Delaware right here in Trenton, 1776. He's known for that. His farewell address was in 1796, and I wanted to pause on this one because it says that Washington's farewell address was published in 1796 as he prepared to retire. It warned against intense party faction, regional rivalry, and permanent foreign entanglements that could pull the U.S. into Europe's wars. Here we are.
Foreshadowing.
Doing all of those things.
That's amazing. Maybe we learned about that growing up, but that to me is, I did not know any of that.
Yeah, I know. When I was reading through this, I was
Wow.
like, you know what? Even George Washington warned us.
Yeah.
Hey, we need to mind our business.
Holy smokes.
We need to mind our business. And so I think that it's really it's really cool to see this, that the sentence above that says the address reflected his frustration watching his own administration fracture, especially through the Hamilton-Jefferson rivalry.
Yeah.
Washington wanted national unity, but saw politics hardening into camps. I mean, it's hardened now more than it ever has.
Sure.
In 2026 here.
Wow, that's amazing. I did not know that.
So the next one, Mount Vernon, which I think that I'm going to go there this spring.
Really?
I think I'm going to go there.
Drive?
I'm going to probably drive. I may fly, but I'm thinking I'm going to go visit it because I was going to do it in the winter, but I decided that I want to wait till spring so everything's in bloom.
Sure.
All the cherry trees and everything that are out there would be really nice.
Oh, that's amazing. It's Virginia, right? Mount Vernon, Virginia.
Yep.
So you could do the drive and see some Civil War sites and tie it to
That's true.
some of the presidents, later Grant and all that stuff down the road.
I need to look at it and see if any other presidents are connected to any of that, which I'm sure they are. I mean, it's Virginia.
That we were up in coming back from Lexington yesterday, and I didn't realize because I thought Illinois for not to get sidetracked, and I'm probably not doing this very much justice.
No, man, sidetracked.
I didn't know Abe Lincoln was born in Kentucky.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah. So as I've been kind of knowing you were going to be doing these and going through the presidents, we've got a lot of that history.
Yeah.
Within a couple state radius of
join me in my ignorance.
Yeah.
Because I had no idea.
No, sure. I mean, it wasn't always. You learn about the Revolutionary War, but I don't know much. I should.
Well, you just learn all the dumb things like George Washington chopped down the cherry tree.
What they can put in a book, right?
He had wooden teeth.
Yeah.
It's like all these child's tales, which you later find out that are not necessarily true. All right, so Mount Vernon. And then Washington on the currency, which I think that, like you said, the dollar bill, everybody knows George Washington on there.
Is he on any coins?
Yeah, he's on the quarter.
On the quarter. Yeah.
So he got the quarter and the dollar bill.
Yeah.
What's funny is like, I don't know if this is funny, but like I couldn't even pull out a dollar bill to look at it. I don't think I've had cash in my hand in years.
No.
And so like all that's going away.
Well, here's another. Is he now the only president on a coin and a dollar bill? On a bill?
No,
because the penny is going away.
The penny's gone. Officially retired the penny.
Right.
And then Jefferson's on the nickel.
Yeah, and a $10.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all right.
Hey, we're just spitballing.
Hey, man, we're learning. All right, so those are the things that he's most known about. And so some of the lesser known things, which when I read this, I was like, I had no idea. He never lived in the White House. And the reason that he never lived in the White House is because he died in 1799, and the White House was not ready for occupancy until 1800.
So he didn't. So he lived in Mount Vernon.
Yeah,
for his presidency.
I believe so. Some history buff might get on here and yell at us, but I am assuming so.
Wow. No. So when was the White House built? 1800s.
Yeah, 1800 exactly.
No way.
So the notes here say he defined the presidency, but never got to live in the president's house.
Did he help with the architecture and in the construction of it?
I don't know.
And molding what it is now?
I don't know. Possibly.
Wow. We
you literally see how much you don't know when you're looking at this.
Man.
So he disliked public speaking and formal performance.
I did know that.
I wanted to talk on this. He says that he was not a natural showman and that he relied on written messages and carefully controlled appearances rather than constant public speeches.
Sure.
Which I find really interesting because, if you're looking at people's personalities, there's like the A personality, B, C. A is like go in there and get them.
Yeah.
Just do whatever, and not, very little thinking on it. And then like he's probably more like a C personality because he's trying to think it all through.
Right.
He's trying to figure it out. He doesn't want to look stupid.
I think that goes to his military background, which I always understood is why he was nominated, for lack of a better word, to become the president, because he was so operational minded and he had all the other you know, Thomas Jefferson, all those people behind him that were vocal,
Yeah.
were educated a little bit more, and were writing these documents that formed and shaped the nation. They needed somebody to get them military-wise out of, you know, the control of what England and was trying to do. That's why he did not want to do the become a king.
That's what's interesting about it is that, you know, you have all types of people in the situation, and he's kind of like just the regular old farmer guy that's like common sense, winning battles and all that kind of stuff.
Would someone like that in nowadays world work as a president?
I think that yes, I think the people would vote for it, but it would be destroyed by all of the other politicians.
Right.
You know, most of the politicians go to Washington, D.C. to make a difference.
Sure.
And then, you know, 9 times out of 10, and I'm not saying this on all of them, but most of them get roped into the, you know, cutting deals with vote for this and I'll give you
Sure.
the, you know, doing all that kind of nonsense. And you can see the ones today that are, you know, kind of against the grain and don't fall into it, whether I agree with them politically or not.
Yeah.
You know, but there's a lot of people that are against the grain on it.
I just don't see an individual like this, like his character, in today's time would never be in a position like this.
Yeah. Well,
You know?
when you read further in here, like this next one here, he was intensely focused on etiquette and dignity. So Washington believed that the presidency needed visible dignity to command respect domestically and internationally.
Sure.
He studied rules of civility, posture, and formal interaction. And so if you equate that to today's times, it's funny because it's like different sides of the political world will look at this differently, because you can say that's a lot like how Trump is doing now, because he's showing, you know, he's in charge, he's force, hey, we're powerful, we're strong, whatever else. But then you can also look at it like, well, Washington's saying that, like, hey, we don't need to be a bunch of assholes. We need to be nice. And, you know, Trump takes it too far from time to time.
Sure.
And so you kind of look at all that. It says he developed ceremonial routines, receptions, structured introductions, controlled access, not because he wanted to be king,
Right.
but because he feared the office would be dismissed as weak. And I feel like Trump doesn't want the office to be feared as weak. Not political on this podcast, but some would say that past administrations looked weak, you know, appeared weak to the rest of the world.
Well, when there's so much threat of nuclear, I mean, the world could be over with the push of a button. You have to show a little bit of toughness.
Well, you got to kind of have
Or
the
you're going to
added.
be abused.
It's so weird though if you even think about like just being very strategic in how you're presenting yourself and the words that you say and things like that. It's like you can't really mess up.
Yeah.
You know, it's like obviously it was different in those times than it is now, because like you said, it's like nuclear threat now. You know, you don't want anybody kind of stomping around on us or making these other countries around the world think that they can just do whatever.
Well, he you know, seems like Washington was molded on what he saw his adversaries who was fighting against. It was very structured. There was, you know, the chain of command was, you know, what you followed. I mean, the fact that they lined up across from each other and, you know, someone took the first step and walked in, you know, they respected who they were battling.
Yeah.
You know, Ultimate was trying to take over, but, you know, there was a lot of respect, which I see that this is what he was molding himself or wanting to mold, you know, the states about. So, I mean, all this kind of makes a lot of sense of who he was, who he saw he was fighting against.
Yeah.
And knew that it worked because we're in pretty new, you know, country compared to what we were fighting against.
Yeah.
There's a lot of history that predates 1776.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
for
know?
sure.
I mean, think of old Chris Columbus coming over in the 1400s. I mean, we're still a pretty new, you know, country.
Yeah.
So you have to maybe look back at what has allowed his adversaries to be around for so long.
This will probably make more sense when we get a little bit deeper into this. But when I was reading through this, I felt like, you know, trying to compare George Washington to like someone that's, weighty now, like someone that's got, as big as George Washington, which I'm not saying that this person is, but when I'm reading about him, it kind of reminds me of like Steve Jobs, to where like this next one says the private letters show frustration and sharp criticism. So Washington's correspondence reveals a leader who often felt surrounded by incompetence and disloyalty. He complained about supply failure, political infighting, and the unreliability of militia systems. It's like, you always heard that Steve Jobs kind of ruled with an iron fist of everything, and he wanted things a specific way, and then people were just talking bad about him behind his back, and the people that are working for him were doing all that. So it just kind of gives me the Steve Jobs
It's a good analogy.
vibe.
But when you believe in what you believe in,
Yeah.
and look what's happened, both were very successful.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You don't care what other people think. If you've got your mission and your goals of how you want something to be, you're going to be able to deal with that stuff
Yeah.
and persevere.
On this next one, he had no biological children, which I thought
That's
was
interesting, too.
I thought was interesting because the last line in that says this fact dovetails with the anti-monarchy instincts and his willingness to step away from office. The republic couldn't become a family brand. And if you look at it now, like all of the presidents over the years, it's like a family brand. You got the Bushes and you got the Clintons and you got, like it could be the Trumps, and obviously some more back in the past that I don't know yet. But when we get to those episodes, we'll know of the families.
That was the fact when I asked ChatGPT to kind of give me something that someone may not recognize about George Washington, was that he didn't have any kids.
Yeah.
Again,
I want to say that Andrew Jackson didn't have any kids of his own. He was married into Rachel Donaldson's kids, but I don't think he had any biological. Maybe he did.
I don't. That will be a fascinating one to understand what his relationship was with his slaves and what came of that.
Could you imagine though, like if you're like, hey, I'm George Washington's great grandson or whatever, that'd be kind of crazy.
That'd be amazing.
But it just as it so happened,
Was it something you mentioned it? But I mean, did Martha? We should have done a little deep dive on Martha too. I wonder if she wanted to have kids or couldn't have kids, but knew that he was gone for so long.
Yeah. We'd have to look into that. I should have looked that up to see if they were unable to have kids or what.
I think here's what I think we do with this segment, because I think this is going to be spectacular, and it's something I think needs to be done. But maybe start of the next episode is we go back and fill in the blanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fine.
We
can do that.
As we know, because I think we're both learning something. People are going to learn some things here too.
Yeah, I'm learning it as I'm looking at it on the computer screen as we speak. All right, so he took security seriously in an unstable era. And so I'm thinking, like, can you imagine back then how unstable they felt? Imagine it now. I mean, good Lord. It's like people can't even go walk down the street, And I only know this because Hayden had to deal with the Secret Service stuff when he was in New York. Like just
the restaurant,
just the amount of things that go into like sweeping a place before a president or somebody big and important goes through there.
Yeah,
and so it says. It says, this is funny because it says early American politics could be volatile. Protests, regional distress, and threats against federal authority were common. Washington understood that this person had symbolic value and was a potential target. Well, yeah, it's even worse now.
No, for sure. I wonder what this security is. I mean, you know where you're going to go. Is it sending troops ahead to make sure that militias aren't coming after
Probably, because it's not like they can just now. It's like they grab their phone or you got your radios and everything else. It's like if they write a letter, they're like,
sure. But think of getting from here to Nashville, on horseback.
It may take a fortnight.
Going down Old Charlotte Road, which was like I think the main road back in, back in the 1800s to get downtown. I mean, there's so many places to hide.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because it's all like it's not like
You
all
know,
developed like
right.
it is now.
The security thing is fascinating because you'd have to have so much in and around, forward, sideways, backwards, just to keep you somewhat safe. And how was he traveling? Is he traveling on horseback himself, or is he in a carriage? Is he in, you know?
I don't know, but if you think about it, like I was thinking to myself, I'm like, well, it feels like the moral compass was a little bit more in line back then. And as I'm thinking that, then I'm thinking, no, because everything, like we see things now, we're like, I can't believe that this happened.
Yeah.
Like in politics, or you see like an ad that a politician says against another one. This stuff has been going on for years and years and years. There should be nothing that's shocking here.
Right.
And so I think to myself, well, people, and this may or may not be true, it could be like, you know, people generally are like, hey, that's the president of the United States, you know, you can't do anything to him.
Right.
You know, and so people don't do that. Now, there's probably some crazies out there, but is there more crazies now than there were then?
I mean, I think in the grand scheme of things, I think it's similar. I mean, you're dealing with going into new areas. You've got the Indians,
Yeah.
you know, who are going to be your adversaries, militias that may not like you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't want to deal with it. They're not unsure, so it's relevant probably to the times.
Yeah.
You know, now there's satellites that can watch what's going on. There's radio traffic. There's internet traffic. But I mean, here, I mean, it's you don't know what you're going to get.
But even 10, 20, 30 years ago, it's like the political parties weren't as divided as they are now, and people are so clinging on to their idea enough that they would kill somebody for that. You know, it's like I just don't remember that stuff happening. Of course, it probably did, but I don't know. It seems like I don't know. I'm just picturing Washington, you know, on his horseback. He's probably got a few guys with him.
Yeah.
That's his
Or in a
security
canoe,
detail.
right?
In a canoe. And he's just walking, you know, the horse is walking him down the road. He's riding it down the road. And like, you know, he may come upon a house or something.
Yeah.
You know, you wave at him.
It's like, hey, there's G-Dub.
It's like, you could, like, that would never happen now. A modern president would never be just driving down the road.
Remember when they did the debate, gosh, a couple years ago at Belmont?
Yeah.
And they were coming up West End, and they blocked off like 3 or 4 blocks around, so you couldn't get to them. So, I mean, sitting up on bluffs to have Indians looking down, you may not even know they're there.
Yeah.
Or you're on a canoe running down the Harpeth River, and
they're
behind you.
They're
and
popping off
you.
arrows and stuff.
Sure.
And
Sure. There's got to be a massive threat. That's a good one to bring up.
Yeah. All right, so then this is one I want to talk about a little bit too. We talked about it a little bit a second ago, but he hated party faction and watched it form anyway. So it says Washington wanted unity, but the issues were fundamental: debt policy, the national bank, foreign alignment with Britain and France, and the meaning of the Constitution itself. I mean, this stuff is exactly what's going on right now. All of these exact same things.
It's fascinating.
And I don't know. Do you think that the founders, when they founded the country, they knew that humans are humans and they're going to try to pull one over on, and so they set our Constitution up in a way that like there's checks and balances.
Sure.
But it's like here we are 250 years in and it's still going.
Yeah.
You know,
Think about how great of a document that was.
I know.
I mean, we're celebrating, 250 years this July. I mean, that document is still what we base everything off of.
I know. And it really disappoints me because, bad things have to happen for this country to unite. And that used to not be like that.
No.
It's like you could go and if you're a Democrat and I'm a Republican or vice versa, and we have a heated argument about something, it's like back even 15, 20 years ago, we could have a heated debate.
Yeah.
And then we'd be like, oh, let's go get a beer. Now it's just like,
Sure.
I don't like you.
No, sure.
You're not in my tribe.
Right. It's just like this, brothers, shooting or stabbing their other, brother because they disagreed in what they think. A lot of families now don't talk to each other because one
I know.
thinks that their views are right and the other one doesn't. I mean, I know a number of people like that.
Who cares? That's the whole point of how the Constitution was set up it's like it's pulling this way and then it's pulling that way.
Yeah.
And and sometimes the pendulum swings way too far to the right and sometimes way too far to the left. But the people are the ones that bring it all back centered. Sometimes it's center left, sometimes it's center right, but it's the people that pull everything back together.
Sure.
And it's funny because here we are talking 250 years ago where Washington's saying, hey, we don't need to fall into these things.
Yeah.
And here we are, knee deep in it.
People.
Knee deep in it.
Smart people to know that 250 years later, and then probably the same thing 250 years later from now, hopefully this document is still around.
Yeah.
But man, it just expresses how wonderful of a document it was. Can you imagine the conversations around this?
Oh, yeah.
Sitting in Washington, writing this stuff, knowing that this is really how country is going to be formed.
Yeah.
And run for.
It's crazy. The thing is it's always been considered an experiment, and it's still the American experiment.
Sure.
And it's like, it's not guaranteed. All of this is a house of cards.
Yeah.
Every single bit of it. I was thinking about that today, that everything could fall apart in a second.
Yeah.
It's like you get the wrong president. Again, whatever your political affiliation is, every president that we've had, no matter Democratic or Republican or whatever they are, it's like they were there at that time for a reason.
They're meant to be.
It's meant to be every single time.
Sure.
It's like, how does this not just fall apart? Think about the technology you're putting your mind back in the 1800s. Now just look at how much we've boomed with technology in that amount of time. Hell, even in the past 5 years, 10 years. And we're still maintaining this.
Yeah.
Now, people are always trying to go around and try to, well, does it really? They're trying to bend the rules.
I mean, right to bear arms and
there's always
freedom of speech.
All of those things are always like right there on the front lines. But the thing is no matter what happens, it's like we're still rolling along.
It's a democracy at the end.
We're rolling along.
Yeah.
All right, so now we get into the scandals. Scandals and controversies. George Washington, everybody listen up. He owned hundreds of enslaved people. Now, I want to pause, and this might not be a popular thing to talk about, but when we were growing up and we heard that when we were talking about this, they were called slaves. Mm-hmm. And I first noticed this when we went to the Hermitage, Andrew Jackson's home. They kept saying enslaved people.
Enslaved.
Is this the politically correct way to say that?
I think it is.
I mean, I'm not trying to be offensive one way or the other.
No, sure.
No matter what, it sucks and it's wrong.
Right. No, I think it is enslaved.
Yeah.
Not slaved. I mean, I think that
well, enslaved is they're being held against their will.
Right. Hundreds of enslaved people. But that was, unfortunately, that was the part of the world back then.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like they didn't. Yes. When we look at it in retrospect.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine being enslaved to somebody.
No.
And I hate that any of the people were enslaved to anybody. But like, there is no but. I can't imagine. Like, do all of these people back in the past that owned slaves and everything else, were they just like, well, this is just what my parents did
Sure.
before me?
Well,
was that the mentality on it?
I think it took another strong leader, 100 years later, 90 years later to realize that this is not the right way to go about it.
Well, this is a really dumb comparison, and I'm only thinking of this because I can't think of a better one, but this is an example. Back 10, 15 years ago, you'd go to a restaurant and there's a smoking section and the non-smoking section. Mm-hmm. And it's like, if you were a non-smoker, you were just like, oh, I want to sit in the non-smoking section.
Right.
Knowing that all that smoke's blowing over in
Still
it.
Coming in, yeah.
But is it just because you just don't think of it? You just don't. Sure. That was just how it was. They used to smoke on planes.
Right.
They used to do all that kind of stuff. And it's like, I don't know that there was anybody that was standing up being like, this is unacceptable. And
every car when we were growing up had the lighter, the push lighter in it with the ashtray.
Yeah.
And that goes away.
Yeah.
Right. it was probably just how
Just the norm, I guess.
it was the norm, right? It starts with the Indians, and when we were moving into this world, and it just as it went down the road year after year, and again as we progressed as people and understood human decency, then that went away. But there's still a lot of religions that in countries that still kind of run with this.
Yeah. It says, and remember, this is Scandals and Controversies. It says he arranged rotations of enslaved workers to avoid legal emancipation triggers and support efforts to recapture people who escaped using networks of contacts and legal mechanisms. This is a concrete example of federal leadership intersecting with private economic interests. Good material for modern comparisons about power and protecting property.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of stuff goes on now. I mean, obviously not with people, but hell, maybe it is with people.
No, now it's
trafficking and all this other kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point.
All right, so brutal discipline in the Continental Army, which, you know, this is why I was kind of making the Steve Jobs comparison earlier, because like he's the kind of guy that wasn't putting up with any shit. He's the guy that's coming in here and being like, no, this is how we're doing this, and it's pretty hardcore. I didn't really know this, but Washington believed strict discipline was necessary to keep the force intact, even when conditions were miserable. Which I get that you got to have a leader. That's when the guys are like, oh no, I don't want to do it, and he's like, no, let's go do this. But punishments could include flogging, branding, and execution. The goal was deterrence and cohesion rather than mercy.
Yeah.
So he's like hardcore.
We had to be.
Yeah.
We had to be. You're sitting out in the middle of December, and you're in a tent, and you're going to go fight the redcoats. And I mean, if you're not on board, he knew his goal. He had a goal in mind.
Yeah.
Right? He knew how he had to keep people in line. Yeah, it stinks. Nowadays, everybody's too sensitive, and
No, I agree.
you can't do that stuff.
Yeah. The thing is, though, is you even have to watch what you say in this type of situation, but it's not like you're saying, no, you beat the hell out of somebody for something, you do it. No, I mean, you're not saying just go out higgledy-piggledy beating people up.
No, but you have to set an example back here where there was so many views and there was no order.
Yeah.
You're asking militias to come together. You're asking groups of people to come together to fight for a cause. You're going to have those leaders in those militias that think they're smarter than the other person.
Yeah.
If you want to bring them all together, you have to set an example.
Here's a good one. This one makes me think that Trump is like him in this aspect. Washington believed the presidency needed a level of ceremony to command respect, particularly from foreign diplomats accustomed to monarchies and aristocratic courts.
Sure.
He hosted formal dinners and structured receptions, which critics sometimes framed as elitist in spirit. So it's like putting the party on, man.
Sure.
You got to throw a good party.
I'm the man.
I'm the man.
I'm the man. I want you to know about it.
Yeah, it is. Hey, look, who's the big daddy?
Yeah.
B-Dub.
I'm in charge here.
Old G-Dubs is the big daddy.
Yeah. You put me in this position, you're going to celebrate me.
Yeah. You're going to celebrate me.
Sure. Again, but you can tie that back to the punishment part of it.
Yeah.
You're not, hurting someone here, but he's making sure they know that I'm in charge here.
Well, in the defense of what I said a minute ago, it did say including execution.
Well, sure.
So he would kill somebody.
Sure.
All right, image control, portraits, posture, and public access. Washington understood the presidency needed legitimacy, and he used image as a tool. Controlled portrait sittings, formal appearance standards, and structured public receptions. That sounds like Trump all over it right there.
Absolutely. You have to wonder if as a leader like that, do you look back and want to somewhat mirror how you kind of rule's not the right way, but govern.
Yeah, govern.
By how these guys did it. Because it worked.
Yeah. But any great leader does that. If you read any of these self-help books or any of these books about becoming a better leader and how to, be savvy in business and all that, it's like all of these guys have all of this in common.
Yeah.
That's why I bring up Steve Jobs in it, because it's like these guys know what they want. They surround themselves with people that are competent, and then they execute their vision for things.
Yeah, I guess stay the course. Steve Jobs is a good example.
Well, I mean, just look at the transformation of the world because of all that.
Sure.
All because of him. I was like reading the biography about him, all the way down to like, hey, I want this app to be this color. Somebody gives him the color, and it's not right. It's not the exact color that he. It's like you got to have those people that want what they want.
Yeah, and don't care what people say and think about them.
I was watching something where the prototype for the iPhone, they comes in, the guy's like, here's the iPhone, and Steve Jobs like, oh yeah, this is looking good, but it's too thick. And they're like, we can't do any more. We've done everything we can to do it. And he takes it and like throws it in a fish tank. Make another one.
No way, for real?
Yeah, make another one. And then but that's what I'm saying. It's like George Washington and all these leaders like this are setting a standard here that we're not accepting less. The problem that I see with a lot of things, if we're a bunch of sissies about everything, then like we're never gonna move forward. This moves
take advantage of. You'll get taken advantage of, and you can't. How do you govern if you're getting taken advantage of? I mean, how do you lead if you're getting taken advantage of? I mean, Steve Jobs with his computer and then trying to build the next computer. Remember that one he tried to go off of when Apple let him go, and he came back. I mean, but you also probably hear at this, there's a softer side in his later years of.
Yeah, that's what I want. I try to be mindful.
Leadership.
I try to be mindful because remember, we're reading this, and I'm sure that all of these things were true, but they were probably true in different parts of his life.
Sure.
Maybe this one incident happened, and they were like, "Oh, I'm gonna write this about George Washington." It's like because it's like that with everybody.
Well, these first batch of presidents will be harder to understand.
Yeah, it's harder for us to relate to it.
Correct. Because like we said at the beginning here, we're going off of, letters and accounts.
Yeah.
But
once we get into the more modern presidents, we probably can relate to them a little bit better, but it's all really crazy.
Right. But you think, I mean, he held a term. We get some presidents that were pretty weak and didn't last.
Yeah.
And thought they could skate around what was written back, in the Constitution, and it didn't work. And you get in trouble.
Yeah, but think about it now. It's like you got 4 years.
Yeah.
So I mean, we need to have those restrictions on like senators.
Term limits on everything.
I mean, you got these guys that sit in there for 50 years or more,
right?
And it's like, why?
Yeah. It's an ego thing. It's a power thing. It goes against everything that George Washington wanted to have.
Yeah.
Why is it just a presidency that has a term limit?
Yeah. All right. So the last section here, weird and human, weird things about George Washington that maybe we didn't know. So this one's interesting, and we kind of touched on it a second ago, but dentures were not wooden and were painful. And so the wooden teeth myth is widespread, but Washington's dental appliances were made from a combination of materials used in the era, including ivory, metal, and human teeth.
Yeah.
They were uncomfortable and could distort his facial shape. And so
very interesting.
I'm going to read this whole thing because it's good. Washington suffered progressive tooth loss over his adult life, which affected speech, eating, and confidence. Portraits often capture a tight-lipped expression that may reflect pain in an effort to control appearance. So immediately I think of the dollar bill. Mm-hmm. That's etched into all of our minds. We all know what George Washington looks like because we just look at a dollar bill. But if you look at that dollar bill and you just see his lips, or he just looks like he's, people that kind of talk with their mouths closed because maybe their teeth are rotting or whatever. They may have some sort of issue or they don't like the way that their teeth look.
Confidence.
Yeah, the confidence. And so I'm trying to think of this to where all the stuff that we've just talked about, and the whole time he's like, in a kind of panic mode in his mind of like, I don't want people to think I'm weak because of this, or at the same time, this really hurts.
Sure.
Sure. Having to deal with that.
No, sure. We can attest to that, just the way we've done with our feet. I mean, you're going to act a different way. You're going to sit when you maybe should stand. You're going to, not be a great public speaker, because you know that your mouth hurts so dang bad.
Kids, they couldn't just go to a dentist.
No.
There wasn't dentists.
I mean, all those apple trees, he should have been eating more apples, but.
Yeah. And then the next one says some teeth were purchased from enslaved people.
Yeah.
So I just have this goofy picture of George Washington in my head where he's giving, some coins or whatever the currency was.
Flipping a quarter.
Flipping him a quarter. Here's one of me. Have a me. He like gets it from his enslaved, or maybe he like pays them or something.
Yeah.
He's like, give me them teethers. It's like, do they like knock their own teeth out, or were they like?
That's a great question.
Maybe the kids like when they're losing their teeth when they're young, and it's like, is he?
Yeah.
And he's just like gluing them in his face.
I mean, you have to have a doctor to do it, but probably as they passed away, they're pulling the teeth out.
Yeah, but this says were purchased.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So it's not like, oh, hey, Billy Bob over here passed away, and he's like, get me their teeth.
Get the pliers.
Get the pliers and give me the teeth. It's like he actually bought the teeth, which is weird.
Yeah, that's the one thing I did know, that it wasn't wooden; it was more human teeth. But I didn't know the metal or the ivory, which makes sense too.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It says the rhetoric of and blah 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 blah. Household health. Let's see.
Wait, let's go back to that. Do you think they taught wooden teeth to kids because they didn't want to talk about it being a human, taking it from humans? Yeah,
it could be. I mean, I can't think of a good reason why.
Yeah,
it's like, just say that. Maybe it's scary to think that, like, oh, he's got someone's teeth, so he's like ripping on a steak or something with some other dude's teeth. So, all right, it says the unsmiling portraits. It says 18th century elite portrait prize restraint and dignity. Smiling broadly was often considered informal or unserious, which is why back then, you always see pictures from like the olden days that are like always very like straight faced,
stoic,
very stoic and all that
with their hair.
It's like, think about it. Have you ever seen any kind of painting or anything of like George Washington grinning it up?
No.
It's always like a portrait of him getting ready to kick some ass.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. And I always growing up probably thought, well, that they were leaders and they couldn't do that stuff. But, it tells you kind of here that was kind of frowned upon, to be more relaxed.
Yeah. And then it says like Washington also had strong practical reasons to avoid smiling: the dental pain, the self-consciousness about appearance. So, and then his temper and impatience beneath his controlled exterior, which we've talked about some today, is that it says Washington's public persona emphasized self-control. So out in public, he was like, oh, I'm a nice guy. I'm a very soft type guy. But in private writings and reports suggest he could be sharp, impatient, and deeply frustrated, especially when faced with incompetence or disloyalty, which, just like I keep saying Steve Jobs, but it goes back to someone like that.
Sure.
Like that we can compare to.
I mean, picture this. If we don't have an individual like this set up in a position like this, we're not sitting here doing this.
I know. You're exactly right.
So you needed someone that was strong-willed, knew what he needed to do, leader.
I 100% agree, but put George Washington modern today, this person, we'll wipe the executions off.
Sure.
But just like, getting in somebody's ass that they need to be gotten into.
Yeah.
He would never make it today.
No.
We have a whole generation of people, my generation, all of our generations over the past 50 to 100 years. No, I don't want to say 100 because the past 40 or 50 years have been raised to be a bunch of sissies.
Soft, yeah.
Very soft.
Yeah.
And it's like we can turn on the news right now, and there's somebody whining and crying about something stupid.
It's not even 50 years. It's probably like 25 years.
Yeah, you're right. Past 20, 25 years.
And maybe a little more than 25. But I mean, it is the generation now. No, gosh.
I always think of the line. I don't know if you remember this in Fight Club, but the Brad Pitt and Edward Norton are sitting in the tub. Have you seen that movie?
Yes.
Because
we're not allowed to talk about it, but go ahead.
Yeah, there you go. But Brad Pitt says we're a generation of men raised by women.
Yeah.
Because the dads haven't been around being dads, you know? I think that it's probably turned around since like the 80s and 90s and stuff. Maybe to some degree, I don't know. And somebody will probably tell me the statistics and I'm wrong, but it's like, who is that? I'm a big proponent of like children need to be raised by two parents, a man and a woman.
Sure.
To raise the kids, and that's how. And I'm going to get myself in trouble by even saying any of that.
I don't think so. I think you're right. I think you're right. I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
I'm not saying that like a single woman or a single man cannot raise their kids. I'm just saying that kids need both sides of it. They need the love and affection from the mother, but they also need the father kind of, kicking them, trying to make sure that they're doing what they should be doing or doing good.
Or teaching them something.
Yeah, teaching. I say kick. Teaching them to be a man.
No, right. But in now's generation, your parents are your kids are getting taught by what's on YouTube.
Yeah. George Washington would be in jail today.
George Washington probably would be in jail.
Yeah. All right. Practice posture, movement, and presence. So I was picturing him like he's like standing in his how they dressed back then, and he's like looking in the mirror,
not smiling.
He's like, don't smile. And he starts smiling a little bit, and he's like, oh, these other people's teeth digging into my gums because I smiled.
Martha, get over here.
He says, believe leadership required visible authority. He paid attention to how he stood, how he walked.
Does that not make sense?
How he entered rooms, aiming to project steadiness and legitimacy.
Right. And confidence.
Right. Yeah.
You look good and you feel good and you're going to be good.
So he's like looking around.
Yeah.
He's like practicing his stride as he walks into the ballroom.
You want to walk in feeling like you're the tallest person in the room.
Yeah, that's
you're
true.
the leader.
Formal rules for greeting and access. Washington receptions were levees used to structure protocols, who could approach, how greetings worked, and how public access was managed.
Wow.
Battlefield mistakes and cost of command. Washington campaigns also included misjudgments, especially early war decisions where British advantages exposed weaknesses to America training and intelligence. I mean, that's, yeah.
But he ultimately learned from all those mistakes.
Yes.
And if you're not able to do that, you're not going to be good. You're not going to be successful. I mean, the British knew what they were doing. They had the leg up. We had to learn a lot about how they fought.
Yeah.
And he was pretty darn good at it.
Yeah. And then lastly here, he would recognize and hate modern dysfunction. It's just crazy. He also cautioned against foreign entanglements that could drag the U.S. into constant conflict. It's said that in this document, it said that a few different times. Modern politics often looks like the nightmare version of his warnings: hardened parties, nonstop outrage cycles, and international commitments everywhere.
That's wild to think that he thought that, and it's going on right now.
Yeah, but think about back then. It's like if you want to go across the pond, you jump on a plane to do it. Mm-hmm. It's like there was none of that back then.
No.
And he's saying like, hey, we're going to have problems over here with this and problems over there with that.
Sure.
And it's like that far away. And it's just, it's the whole Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and now like learning a little bit about George Washington. It's just really amazing to see where we are 250 years later.
No, what's great about this segment that you're going to do is we're going to learn a whole lot about how each president built this country and improved, made some mistakes, took steps forward, and really kind of, it's cliche to say, it's silly, maybe silly to say too, but really molded how we are. Like I said, if this doesn't happen, if he doesn't show up, we're not sitting here.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
we've got accents.
Yeah.
And we're eating tea and crumpets right now.
Instead of drinking whiskey and being awesome.
Exactly. Exactly. Flip around quarters and dollar bills.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It really is amazing, and it's crazy to think all these years have passed. I kind of look at I think that once we get through all of these presidents, we're going to kind of see the graph of America where, we're trending up, but we have all these down spots. Sure. And again, America is amazing, but there's things like enslaved people and things like that we're not proud of, and that we have a stain on our country for these things. And we're going to find out tons of things that have happened.
Well, we have leaders that have gotten us in and out of some pretty serious situations.
Yeah.
We've not been, knock on wood, like some of these older countries over in Europe that have been taken over.
Yeah.
And we've always had some sort of leadership here to guide us to be successful, and to be a powerhouse.
But it's not guaranteed.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Freedom ain't free.
The stresses that George Washington went through with, growing a country and moving west and going from Washington to Pittsburgh, to Fort Pitt, and then even going for what we know as Kentucky now to cross the Ohio River was like a whole brand new world.
Yeah.
So those stresses are like keeping relationships up with Russia and China, because you say something wrong, or somebody says something, or somebody flies into a zone, push of a button,
it
could all be gone.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting to see what our future holds, especially after, after Trump leaves office, which, we may look back at this a few years from now and see what's happened. But, whether people are for or against him, it's like he does a lot of the things that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
And we know that, Trump likes to talk about himself, and he's compared himself to George Washington a lot. But I think that it's fair that a lot of this stuff that he's doing is similar to that.
Well, it just tells you that we do need a strong leader to govern this country.
Yeah. The president does matter.
President matters. And people surround him, just like George Washington had with Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, and that helped mold and shape what we use as our government, today.
Yeah. Well,
Fascinating.
Mike Riley, I appreciate you joining me on this one.
I think this was we're going to learn a lot. I think we were kind of both naive to what we were getting ourselves into here.
Yeah.
Because we really didn't know a whole lot.
Well, there's books and books and books written on this, and it's like you can't get to all of these things. That's why, and I will be the first to tell you, and I want to end the show with join me on my ignorance.
Exactly.
Join me in my ignorance of trying to learn, even if it's just a little bit.
Yeah, I hope to be involved as much as this is, because I think this is fascinating to know.
Well, I do have an announcement to make about this.
Let's hear it.
This is coming from me and Nikki, because we were talking about this, and she said, you need to do all of the President episodes with Mike, because he's very excited about it.
I'm very, very excited about it, and I would love to do it.
And so then you'll be there.
I would love to do it.
We may get another person in here on one, but I think this was fun.
Yeah, this was amazing. This was truly amazing, because I didn't, like I said, as bad as this makes me sound as a 50-year-old, I knew a fraction.
Yeah, same.
And then when I thought I knew something, I second-guessed myself.
Yeah.
But no, I'm super excited, because I couldn't tell you all the presidents.
Well, that's the thing, is a lot of them are, this is the biggest one, obviously, because it's George Washington.
Yeah.
But when you start getting into into the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
right?
It's like,
Grant was what, 5?
I don't know, man. All of them built America.
No, Grant was after.
You're just gonna make us look dumb.
I know. Sorry. No, I'm here for it. I welcome that opportunity to be involved with this, because I think it's fantastic. Take some trips here, because we have that ability to do.
Yeah.
With the president that lived in and around here, and talk about that. But this is awesome. Yeah, this is really awesome.
We're gonna do it. So this is my disclaimer to everybody that I'm not a historian.
Yeah.
I'm learning just like everyone else. So please don't.
Well,
make
that's
fun
the
of
thing.
me.
If someone knows something that they want to add in, send it in the show notes.
Send
Like and subscribe.
Like
send
it.
it in the show notes. We'll talk about it.
You know what? I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah.
For all the listeners, visit the www.
Right.
Triple W.
Triple Debs.
TheFairviewSocialPodcast.com.
Like and subscribe.
Like
Smash
and subscribe.
the subscribe button.
Smash the subscribe.
And if we can get some talking points, maybe we do a live after 10 presidents to
yeah.
see if people want to talk about some
Yeah,
things.
we can have like a summary of the first 10 presidents.
I think that's a great
And we
idea.
can do it.
I'm very excited. I welcome the opportunity to be involved with this. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
Man.
And thank everybody for listening. I hope that you learned a little bit about George Washington, the numeral uno. And so we're going to go to number 2, which will be John Adams, and we will have him coming up
Is
sooner
it John
than later.
Quincy Adams?
No, that's his son, I believe.
Oh, good call.
Of course, I might be ignorant. I got that messed up. All
Be
right.
patient with us. Be patient.
See y'all. Bye.